Hi, everybody. It's September 16th, Monday, and we have an eclipse tomorrow at our full moon, at our Pisces full moon. So I thought I would just send out a little video to sort of share a couple of my thoughts about it, because I don't really want to write. It takes a lot of time. I'm sorry. And this eclipse is kind of spacing me out a little bit. I'm feeling spacey. So I can't focus my energy very well, which is not surprising at a full moon of Pisces. Such a Pisces, right? So what I want to do is I actually want to share my screen with you and show you a couple things. It's like I know a lot of you do speak astrology, some of you don't speak astrology, so just want to do a very brief, description of what's going on. Okay, so this is a picture of our full moon eclipse tomorrow. So here we have the sun at 25 Pisces or 25 Virgo. Okay. And the moon is opposite it. Obviously, it's a full moon at 25 Pisces. And then we've got Neptune sitting there at 28 degrees of Pisces. So it's really, really conjunct Neptune. The moon is conjunct Neptune tomorrow during this eclipse, during this full moon. Anytime you get Neptune influence, well, you're basically invited into a bit of an otherworldliness or a creativity or a dream. There's a spirituality. It, kind of depends on where you reference reality from, right? If you perceive that you're in control of your reality and that it's, you are a separate thing and that it's your reality, if you're in your separate self identity, your egoic identity, Neptune kind of plays like a cinema, like you create the movie or you project the movie. You're the projector of the movie, right? It's coming from you and it's reflecting back to you your desires and your needs and yourself. If you are in a higher level of consciousness and tapping up into spiritual consciousness, then Neptune kind of plays like a projector, but the place it's being projected from, God only knows. It's like some place beyond us, right? So we're more of a receiver. So Neptune at the higher level is like a receiver. It's like it's the gate to God. At a lower level, Neptune reflects to us back our lessons so that we can get up to the place where we are just a receiver. So it's like I play a lot with Neptune in my chart. I have Neptune opposite my sun, just like this full moon, Neptune opposite the sun. So for me, I play with Neptune a lot and I try to figure out how to tune up into being the receiver rather than being the projector. Because the problem with Neptune people and Piscean people in general is that they can fantasize, they can create things, right? We're very, very creative energy, wonderful to create movies and cinemas and books and all of that stuff and art and transcendent material that makes us happy. But also it like at an egoic level, like the concept self-fulfilling prophecy, like sometimes our creations are not in our highest good. They're not in our best interest. Sometimes we just get into the same rut again and again and again, dreaming the same stupid dream again and again and again. So Neptune is a tricky fish, not not surprising it rules Pisces, which is the fish. Anyway, this is what I want to say about this. So first of all, if we just looked at this full moon as a pure full moon without having any kind of eclipse happening, we would say, okay, this is going to be a really otherworldly, dreamy experience. We're going to have to watch. The opportunity is to transcend and to allow and to kind of enter into a higher level of consciousness or rapport with spirit. Um, and to see and to allow ourselves to receive what's happening and to just bear witness to it, to sort of stay in a state of grace or prayerfulness where we allow ourselves to let go into some kind of a higher transcendent awareness potentially. These would be things that I would maybe say if I was talking about just the full moon, but we're not talking about just a full moon. We're talking, and Jupiter, by the way, is squaring the full moon. So we have to be very careful about our beliefs during this full moon and about our thoughts. Okay. Like the thoughts might get in our way. The way we're thinking about things, the way we're believing things may get in our way at this full moon. So we want to be able to kind of let go and let God and identify where our thinking is perhaps pulling us out of pure alignment or pure receptivity, if that makes sense. So the reason why it's interesting is because of the eclipse, because we have the nodes of the moon at 6 degrees of Aries Libra. And so they're within a specific window to 25 Pisces, right? That's 11 degrees difference, 11 degrees away from the full moon. And when the nodes of the moon are close to either a new moon or a full moon, we get an eclipse, always. And we have about 4 eclipses a year, typically. Eclipses are nothing special, although they are special because they mark times in the collective field where things shift, where things change, where lessons come in, where abrupt kind of repositioning happens within our own psyches, within the collective psyche, within the dream field itself, right? So eclipses are really significant moments in our year that we want to pay attention to for sure, because they really mark transitional zones where energy comes in and has the ability to make things happen. I'm remembering like last year's October eclipse in Libra Aries, that gate brought in I believe that there was a North Node Aries eclipse. It would have been I think it was a full moon eclipse because it would have been an Aries full moon. And sorry, my detail memory isn't necessarily that good, but I believe it was on October 9th. It was a couple of days before there was this attack from Hamas into Israel. And that has been sort of you know, the meta theme of what we've been looking at this year in terms of the Libra Aries axis. So eclipse gates can bring in huge collective calamities. They can also bring in minor changes. And so we want to play with eclipses carefully. We want to be in an observant role, watching and learning rather than being too assertive with them and aggressive with them, right? Like, because, you don't want to play with the energy too much at eclipse time. You want to be a little bit more, it's like you don't want to have your foot on the accelerator, on the gas, because your ego can push itself into chaos. And chaos can have many repercussions, right? There can be many things that come from chaos. So we want to be very careful at eclipse time, especially for those of us who play with the lunar cycle and who do lunar magic. Don't do that during eclipse time. Like just stay chill, right? Observe, be in your own center and receive the information at the eclipses because it's there to guide you or it's there to teach you, but it's not necessarily yours to will yourself on top of, if that makes sense. So anyway, this eclipse, why I'm interested in it is because it is the first eclipse that's happening in the archetypes of Virgo and Pisces. We've had all the eclipses in the last year happening in Aries and Libra because the nodes of the moon have been in Aries and Libra. But the nodes of the moon are about to change. We are at the end of our nodal cycle of Aries Libra, and we are about to, here is January 11th, 2025, move to Pisces Virgo. So all through 2025 and about halfway through 2026, we're going to be going through a south node of Virgo and a north node of Pisces cycle. And most of the eclipses that happen, with the exception of like one or two on either side of the 18-month period, will happen in Pisces and Virgo. Okay, it will happen in Pisces season and in Virgo season. Those will be our eclipse gates next year. And so this eclipse that's happening tomorrow is kind of like the initiator of this next cycle. Not to mention that Neptune is playing a big part of this eclipse. You see, you've got Neptune at 28 degrees of Pisces. Um, and next year, when we move to our new nodal axis, we'll have Neptune at 27 degrees of Pisces, right on the north node as it shifts. So there's a Neptune flavor of what we're going into. And I feel like this first eclipse that's happening, we're definitely in the eclipse gate of it right now because the moon right now is in Pisces. It just went into Pisces. So from now all the way till tomorrow night, we're kind of in this eclipse gate, right? The moon is in Pisces and we're moving toward it. in any case, I believe what's going to be coming or what's being shown to us is like a precursor to what's coming next year. And what does that mean for us? I don't know. What does it mean for you individually? I don't know. But when I was on my bike ride last night and I was asking to be shown what this new nodal axis was going to be doing for us or what it was going to be teaching us, this is what came through, okay? What I was told or shown or what my intuition picked up was that there's going to be some kind of a crisis that we perceive. Like Virgo South Node is a crisis. What that crisis is totally dependent on who we are as an individual and also where Virgo falls in our chart. Okay. For me, Virgo falls in my 4th house, and I am actually having a crisis in my family and in my home right now. Very big. I'm not going to give you personal details, but it's there. In any case, somewhere in our chart, there will be Virgo, and South Node will be transiting that whole part of our chart. So that may be where the crisis is coming for. It may define the crisis. The crisis could be an emotional crisis, a health crisis, a work crisis. It could be a psychological crisis or a relationship crisis, something. I mean, Virgo is just notoriously known for crisis, and for discord and for, bitterness and for things going bad, things being wrong, things going wrong. Okay. So if there's this awareness that we all have of something going wrong, the invitation into the North Node of Pisces is, how do we react to it? How do we move away from that discord or that crisis? How do we resolve it? The complicated thing is Pisces is not a simple archetype. So the resolutions are going to be vast and complicated. Half of Pisces is a fish that is tapped up into the spiritual realm. Half of Pisces is a fish that is tied to the mortal realm. And these two fish swim in opposite directions, tied together by a string, and they go round and round and round. The wheel of karma, the yin yang, the light and the dark tied together. So in our resolution, what I was shown is that we can either perceive the crisis as that earthly suffering fish, and we can perceive that it's hard and we have to overcome the calamity and there's misery and sorrow. And then in that perceptual capacity, we have to feel all our dark feelings and we have to, struggle through forgiving them. And like, so many of us will identify the crisis from that lower fish, from that like mortal fish's perspective, because look outside, look at the planet, look how things hurt so much. There's so much suffering here. It's like that's just half of what we are, right? Is suffering, really. The limitation of our physical realm leads to suffering. So we can perceive that we are redeeming the crisis through our own ability to forgive our suffering, or we can perceive that we are redeeming the crisis through this sort of spiritual transcendence, or through the utopic ultimate, faithfulness and this identification with the spiritual realm. And then we can take the crisis and we can look at it from this higher level, or we can like it doesn't matter. It's the same fish, just one is in the mortal realm and one is in the spirit realm. And we can, quote unquote, redeem the crisis or fix the problem in either of these perspectives, like up or low, but above or below. Okay. Not, it's not upper or higher. It's more like from the high side or from the low side, we're looking at the problem. Okay. The issue with that is it's very unbalanced, and Pisces can be very unbalanced, and you can flip-flop between the both of the fishes because fish are kind of slippery and it's easy to flip-flop. So you can be going and looking at this crisis from a number of different vantage points, and you're going to be learning how to forgive the crisis or redeem the crisis or transcend the crisis either way. It's just how are you perceiving it? And I was shown that there's a perceptual, we're going to be learning a lot about perception in this next nodal axis cycle. And not surprising that Neptune is not only the instigator of this first eclipse, but it's also the instigator of the nodal axis shift, as Neptune will be conjunct that north node as the nodes move into Pisces and Virgo next January. Interesting as well, Jupiter in Gemini is squaring this full moon. So your perspective, Gemini, is also a duality-based sign. It's all about upper or lower. And you see, Gemini is about the mental perspective, the mental stories that happen. If you're highly identified or lowly identified, if you're identifying with your upper self or your lower self. And Gemini is the energy that builds the Antakarana, which is the bridge between the lower and higher self. So essentially, Gemini energy is there to build a channel between our high side and our low side. And Pisces is there to help us transcend the need to flip-flop between the high side and the low side. So both of these archetypes in this eclipse tomorrow speak to the fact that all of us can have an experience on this planet of being sort of identified with the spiritual and the high love, 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 light, or with the suffering and with the mortality and with the reality, with the didactic, concrete, this is the fact, right? Yet, ultimately, are either of those true, or are those just perspectives that are lenses into the reality? And is there something more that we can access? And this is where I think, as I was intuiting, this is what they were showing me was the ultimate goal of this nodal axis period. And of course, we don't always learn the full lesson. I mean, archetype is a very there is so much potential within each archetype, right? So we're all going to be somewhere along the archetypal dance. Somewhere, as my teacher Alan Okun used to say, we're all somewhere along the conveyor belt of consciousness. And so we can't all ultimately transcend all of it. But what I was shown, what I was shown, is that the point of Pisces is to transcend all of it, actually. It's to learn how to hold the paradox of mortality and spirituality. It's to learn how to stand apart from the yin yang and see it as one thing. Ultimately, that is also Gemini's esoteric goal, is to hold the dialectic, to hold the paradox, right? The paradox of wrongness, or the paradox of separation, or the paradox of suffering and transcendence. These are states of being that we can go into, yet there is an ultimate state of being you can go to where you activate your higher centers, your third eye and your Muladhara chakra, your crown chakra, where you achieve a state of loving detachment, or like ultimate forgiveness and compassion. And that's called wisdom, right? To go into that higher state, to see the reality as it is, broken, beautiful, all of it complicated, but to be able to pull away from the chaos of that and stay in alignment in a loving, detached way. That is esoteric Pisces. Okay. That is esoteric Pisces, because from that position, we're very, very bad. We're very powerful, and we can really transform the reality from that position, And the esoteric ruler of Pisces is Pluto, which is all about transformation. Pisces is not a weak archetype at its esoteric level. It's very powerful. So what is this eclipse bringing in for us? I don't know. What I'm tracking for myself is it's bringing in my crisis. It's going to show me my crisis. It's also going to show me the redemption of that crisis, or the opportunities for redemption. I can suffer my way through it. I can love my way through it, or I can detach and see the whole of it, and allow my higher self or my universal connection to dictate my response to the crisis. And that's the Neptune, is I can either be the gate, or perceive the spiritual realm coming through the Neptune, or I can be in my own movie and project my own emotions and my own thoughts all over the experience, basically what would be the right word? Binding me to the mortal coil that I'm already bound to and will be bound to until I die, and perhaps beyond. We'll see. So this is why this eclipse is complicated, and this is why Pisces is complicated, and this is why I think the next 18 months is going to be complicated, because there's so many different ways that we can access this archetype and this invitation into this lesson, right? So I'm going to be playing with it from all sides and just exploring it. I hope this is enlightening for you, or this gives you some value, or this gives you something that triggers your own process so that you can play with it as well. Again, as a repeat, don't try to do too much at this eclipse. Um, Understand that Neptune is involved, so there is an opportunity for prayer or for meditation in this eclipse if you are so inclined to ultimately receive information and guidance from a higher plane of your own reality, of your own existence. And there's also an opportunity to be very, very tightly bound into your own projections. And just know that whatever you choose will color the reality that you're experiencing. And that's neither good nor bad, because ultimately all of it is just perfect. And there is a state wherein the redemption of the crisis is unnecessary, because even the crisis itself is just part of the whole. So there's it. Do you get why I'm saying it's complicated? Anyway, this is a very Neptunian conversation. This is a very Piscean conversation. So I'm going to stop talking and wish you luck on this very first eclipse of this new cycle that we're about to enter into in a few months, September, October, November, December. It's 5 months away. So it's not here right now, but I encourage you to take note of what this eclipse brings in, okay? Because it may come back next January when we enter into the next eclipse gate and when we enter into the nodal axis shift. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye.